Welcome to 1 week workshop on Amazon Web Services, which is actually the cloud computing. Myself, Castro Kiran. Before I start the session, I just want to give a couple of instructions to follow so that it will not have any kind of disturbance to the other participants as well. So the first instruction is make sure to join at least 10 minutes before, or if not possible, at least 5 minutes before from the next sessions onwards. So today's session, most of you have joined at least 5 minutes before. That's very good. And then make sure to sit in a place where you can find the peace environment. You make sure that you should not have any kind of disturbance around you, so that the session will go proper and you will also be able to understand the concepts in a better way. And the third instruction is kindly make sure to mute your mics. I know you will get doubts or you will have doubts at the end of the session. So what I'll do is I'll take all your doubts at the end of the session, or at least every half an hour. So the session will go for 1 to 1.5 hours. So every half an hour, I'll give like 2 to 3 minutes of time for clarifying your questions. But till then, please be in mute position so that the meeting session or the session will go in a peaceful way. And the fourth instruction is, as I was telling, if you have any doubts, I'll take all your doubts. I'll not skip any of your question. So by the end of the session, we'll have extensively a large part of the session, which is purely dedicated for only for the doubt clarifications as well. And finally, you don't need to take any kind of notes. This sessions, the next 5 days, 6 days sessions will be completely recorded. I will share you the recorded sessions with all of you. So you can have a look into the recorded sessions whenever you are comfortable at. So you don't need to take any kind of notes logically speaking. Yeah, these are the instructions that need to be followed, and it would be much better if all of you can follow these instructions, especially with the mute of mics. That's something which I sincerely request. Right. So now in this workshop, we are going to talk about extensively and specifically only on the cloud environment, which is basically the AWS cloud, that is Amazon Web Services cloud. And as a part of this 6 days workshop schedule, in each day, we are going to cover each type of thing in the AWS cloud. On day one, that is today, what we are going to see is we'll be talking about a brief introduction to the cloud computing. What are the different cloud computing models that we have, the AWS infrastructure, which is also called as global infrastructure. And I'll also show you how to create an AWS account. And along with that, if there are any important things that will come in the between, like AWS certifications, which type of certification you can attempt, or what is the price details, all these things I'll be sharing in this particular session. On day two, we'll be talking about a service which is called as S3, which is again called as simple storage service. I'll show you how to create the buckets in S3 service, how to work with the ACLs, which is called as access control list. And finally, I'll also show you how to host a static website, not the dynamic website, but the static website hosting using the S3 service, especially in the AWS cloud. And on day three, we'll be talking about the advanced topics in the S3 service, which is called as a versioning. And in the versioning also, I'll be going deep down of a concept called recovering the deleted objects, which is the most important one, especially in the real-time environments. And on day four, we'll be working with a new service again, which is called as EC2, that's called as Elastic Compute Cloud. Basically, this EC2 service is used in order to launch the instances. So instances are nothing but the servers where you're going to create the servers in the virtual environment, especially in the cloud environment. And then I'll also show you how to work with the EC2 instances in an advanced level. And on day 5, I'll be talking about the advanced topics in the EC2, which is called as AMI, that's called as Amazon Machine Image. And we'll also be talking about a concept which is called as auto scaling in the EC2 service itself. And on day 6, we'll be covering the third service, which is called as a VPC, that's called as Virtual Private Cloud, where we are going to create a private network for our organization or for our institution or for our own group of people. And while creating the private networks or while creating our own networks, we need to work with a concept called subnets, route tables, and internet gateways. So these are the agendas for the entire 6 days of workshop. So in each day, the categorized topics are divided in such a way that everything will be discussed with respect to the real-time environment, not theoretical way. It's yes, obviously it's a theoretical way only, but on from day 2, day 3, day 4, and day 5 and day 6, we'll be talking about the real-time application. So nothing will be shown in such a way that just to complete the workshop or just to have this 1.5 hour of time to make us busy. I'll not be showing anything in that way. I'll be showing everything with respect to the real-time work environment. So that's the workshop schedule for the next 5 days. So coming to today, we are going to talk about a brief introduction towards cloud computing. We'll understand what is cloud computing, why we need to go for cloud computing, what are the different companies that are using cloud computing, why the companies are shifting towards the cloud computing. And then in the cloud computing itself, I'll be talking about what are the different cloud computing models that are available and why they need to be important in order to understand those cloud computing models. Along with that, especially for the people who wants to get into the IT sector, especially into the cloud domain. So what kind of AWS certifications are required and how you're going to select the type of certification according to your experience or according to the level of knowledge that you possess in the AWS and DevOps culture. And finally, I'll be talking about how to create the AWS account. Along with that, I'll also be talking about how actually the AWS global infrastructure is divided. So these are the 4 major topics that we are going to discuss in this particular session. Right. So coming to the first one, which is actually the cloud computing. So here in the cloud computing, so what actually is this cloud computing? Suppose let us understand one real-time scenario here. Suppose let's say that you are a person who is working in a company. Okay, you are the person who is working in a company, and assume that in your laptop you have some set of files. Okay, let's say some set of files are available in your laptop. Now you are the person one. Okay, you are the person one. Now you want to share these files, whichever are available in your laptop, to let's say some 2 different people. Let me call them as person 2 and person 3. So whatever the files that you have in your laptop, those files you want to share it to the other people who are working in a project or who are working in the same project. Now let's assume that all these 3 people, that is person 1, person 2, and person 3, all these 3 people are working on the same project. So when they are working on the same project, obviously they need the common files. Okay, they will be working on the common files. Now, if you want to share, the person 1 wants to share the files available with in his computer to person 2 and person 3. Now, what are the different ways of sharing the files to these people? Okay, so person 1 can share the files to person 2 and person 3 in how many ways? So basically speaking, we have on a large scale, we have 2 different ways. What is the first way? The first way is by using the physical devices. Okay, the first way is by using the physical devices. Now, what does it mean by physical devices? I'll talk about that in some time. And then the second way is by using the cloud domain. Okay, the second way is by using the cloud domain. Now, when I say the physical devices, what does it mean? So usually the physical devices are nothing but the pen drives, the hard disks, the memory cards, all these are the physical devices. So the second way is by using the cloud. So first, let us understand what is the thing that happens with the physical devices when you share the files. Suppose, let me consider the physical devices situation here. Now, what person 1 will do? Person 1 will copy all the files which are available with him into the pen drive. Let's say person 1 is using a pen drive. Now, person 1 is going to copy all the files into the pen drive. Okay, person 1 is going to copy all these files into the pen drive. Now, what person 1 will do? Person 1 will share these files to person 2 and person 3 using the pen drive. So he'll just give the pen drive to person 2 and person 3, and he will ask those 2 people to copy the files into their laptop and then to proceed with working of the project or working on the project. Now, up to here, it is fine. Yes, we can obviously share the people, share the physical devices to multiple people who are working in the same location. That's the major important factor here. So here, what actually happens is person 1 is trying to share the pen drive to person 2 and person 3 who are available in the same location or in the same office. Now, this is one scenario. Suppose let's say that the person 2 and person 3, okay, person 2 and person 3 are available in different locations. Suppose let's say person 2 is available in Bangalore location and person 3 is available in Hyderabad location and person 4 is available, person 1 is available in Chennai location. Please be in the mute position. Just give me a second. Now, please be in mute position. Thank you. So here, person 1 is available in Chennai location, person 2 is available in Bangalore location, and person 3 is available in Hyderabad location. Now, up to here, it is fine. So now how the person 1 will share the pen drive to person 2 and person 3 who are available in different locations. So will the person 1 be able to share the file? Suppose let's say tomorrow there is an audit meeting in the office. Okay, in your office there is a project meeting or audit meeting will be going on. Now, how person 1 will share the pen drive? So obviously there is a problem with the pen drive. So you cannot share the pen drive to person 2 and person 3 when there is an immediate need. Okay, when there is an immediate need. So there comes the limitation of sharing the files through physical devices. That's one limitation. So what is the limitation? Until the persons or until the group of people are available within the same location, then it is possible to share the files between different people. Now, if the people or if the persons who are belonging to the same project are available in different locations, it is not possible to share the physical devices for the remaining people who are working in the project. So that's one limitation with respect to the physical device sharing or data sharing using physical devices. Right. So now assume that they're all there. All these three people are available in the same location. Now let's assume that person 1, okay, person 1 has given the pen drive to person 2. Okay, person 1 has given the pen drive to person 2. Now what person 2 will do, he will copy the files into his laptop or into his desktop or whatever the system that he is using. So from person 1, he is going to get the pen drive, and person 2 going to stick the pen drive to his personal computer or to her personal computer, and he or she will copy the files that are available in the pen drive. Now, once person 2 copies the files into his personal laptop, what is the next thing that he has to do? He has to share that pen drive to person 3. Okay, he has to share that pen drive to person 3. Now, what person 3 will do? Person 3 will attach the pen drive to his laptop or desktop. He is going to copy the files into his personal laptop or into his desktop, whatever that is. Now, here comes a problem. What is that problem? Suppose, let's say, person 2 has attached the pen drive to his personal computer or to his personal laptop. Now, while he was uploading the files or while he was downloading the files from the drive or while he was copying the files from the pen drive, let's assume that the person 2 laptop consists of a virus. Okay, the person 2 laptop consists of a virus. Now, yes, it's fine. Person 2 will be copying the files and into his personal laptop. Now, along with the pen drive or along with the files that are available in the pen drive, now for all those files, virus has been attacked. Okay, the virus attack has been happened. So threats will come. Now, when person 2 is going to share the files to person 3, okay, when person 2 is going to share the files with person 3, now when person 3 sticks the pen drive to his personal computer, he will not be able to see the files. Okay, the files might be corrupted or the files might not be opening itself. So what is the problem here? Here, the virus attack might happen when you share the data through pen drive. Now assume that person 1 has copied all the files into the pen drive. Okay, person 1 has copied whatever the files that are available in his personal computer. All these files has been copied into the pen drive. Okay, the person 1 has copied all the files into the pen drive, and he felt that there is no need of these files, and he has deleted those files in his personal computer. Now, where the main files are available, all the main files are available in person 1's pen drive or in the pen drive. Now, this pen drive will be transferred to person 2. Okay, this pen drive will be transferred to person 2, and person 2 is going to copy those files. Okay, person 2 is going to copy those files, but along with the files,
what is happening? The virus is also available in person 2 laptop. Now, when the pen drive is attached to person 2 laptop, the virus has been attacked to the files that are available in the pen drive. Now, when this person 2 is going to share the files into person 3, he will not be able to see the files. The person 3 will not be able to access the files. Why? Because all the files has got corrupted. Now, assume that person 2 has copied all these files and he has lifted to a different place. Assume that he has copied the files today evening and tomorrow he has to go to some other location of the same office. Let's say he went to some location called Mumbai. Let's say he left to Mumbai. Now, the main files are available with whom? With person 2 only. Person 1, there are no files are available. And whatever the files that are available in the pen drive, all those files has got corrupted. Now, the main files are available with person 2 only. But person 2 is not available in the location. Okay, the person 2 is not available in the location. Now, the question is how person 3 will be able to get the files. Okay, how person 3 will be able to get the files. Now you might tell that okay, he can share the files through WhatsApp or he can share the files through Google Drive. Yes, it's possible, or he can share the files through email also, it's possible. But for time being, let us consider this situation. Person 2 doesn't have an access to internet. Let us just assume it in this way. Person 2 doesn't have an access to internet, or let's assume that person 2 has left the laptop in his home and he went for a vacation, or he went for office work without taking his laptop. Now, how person 3 will get the files? So here, what is happening? The problem with sharing the data or with physical devices or using physical devices is the data loss is happening. Loss is happening. Whatever the data that is available in the pen drive, all that data is being lost because of the virus attack. That's one problem while sharing the device, while sharing the files using the physical devices. Now let us consider the second situation here. Use in the first case only. Let us consider the second situation. Now the second situation comes in this way. Now assume that the pen drive is working proper. It doesn't attack with virus and everything is good. Now person 1 will share the pen drive to person 2. Person 2 will share the pen drive to person 3. Now assume that along with person 3, let's say the person 3 is staying in one house. Okay, the person 3 is staying in a house. Now, let's assume that person 3 belongs to some X company. Okay, person 3 belongs to some X company. In his same flat or in his own flat, there is another person who is staying. I'll call that person as person 4. Okay, I'll call that person as person 4. Now, let's assume that this person 4 is working for a company called Y. Okay, the person 4 is working for a company called Y. Now, person 3 and person 4 are living in the same house and they are working for a different companies. Okay, both of them are working for different companies. Now, assume that whatever the files that person 3 is having, all those files are the most important files which are belonging to the X company. Okay, all the files are most important files. Assume that they are the top level files which are being accessed by the top level officers or top level people in the company. Now, person 3 is having the pen drive. Okay, person 3 is having the pen drive, and there is a chance that, assumed in this way, there is a chance that the person 4 who is staying in the same house will be able to access that pen drive. Okay, person 4 will take the pen drive for some other reason and he accidentally sees some important information in the pen drive of person 3. Let's assume that person 3 has given the pen drive to person 4 in order to copy the movies or in order to copy the something like web series, something like that. Now, when person 4 has attached the pen drive to his laptop, he found that there are some important files which are belonging to the company called X. Okay, which are belonging to the company called X. Now, what is the chance with person 4? There is a chance that this person 4 may copy the files into his pen drive, into his laptop. Okay, this person 4 may copy files into his laptop. Now, whatever the company data of X company data, this person 4 might leak the data to person 4 company, which is Y. So here, what is happening? Whatever the most important important data of X company is being breached by the person 4 to Y company. So here, what is the problem again? The problem is security factor. Okay, the problem is security factor. So in the first case, data loss is happening, and in the second case, we don't get enough amount of security for the pen drives or for the physical devices for that matter. So here, these are the two problems are on a large scale I'm talking about. So these are the two problems on a large scale, especially when you are sharing the most important data using the physical device. So in order to avoid these problems, or in order to counteract these problems, these two problems, we have the new technology which has come into picture, which is called as a cloud technology. Okay, which is called as cloud technology. Now, how we are going to overcome these two things in the cloud environment? Okay, how we are going to overcome these two things in the cloud environment? Let us understand a scenario again for the cloud environment as well. Just let me erase all these factors. Right. So how we are going to overcome the data loss and security feature in the cloud environment? Now, suppose let's assume that you don't know any cloud services that are available. We have different cloud services like AWS, GCP, likewise. I'll talk about that in some time. But let us assume that the only cloud which we know is sharing the files through Google Drive, or sharing the files through email, or sharing the files through WhatsApp. So these are the three sources that we have currently. So the first source is by using the WhatsApp. The second source is by using the email. And the third source is by using the Google Drive. Let's assume that these are the three sources. Now, suppose, let's say, whatever the files that are available in the pen drive, these files are of size, let's say some 50 GB, let's say some 5 GB files are available. Okay, this is the size of files that are available in pen drive. Now, can you share those 5 GB files using WhatsApp? No, it's not possible. So hardly we can share some 200 to 300 MB size of files in the WhatsApp. So that's the maximum that we can share. So WhatsApp is not a best communication to share the official documents of a company. Now, what is the next possible one? We can share the files using the email. Now, when you share the files using the email, what is going to happen, or email or Google Drive? So in the email, you cannot attach the large size files. I'm talking about just the email, not about the Google Drive. So in the email, let's say a maximum of you can attach some 150 MB size of file. Okay, you can attach maximum of 150 MB size of file. But what is the file size that you have currently? It's 5 GB. So email is also not the best option to share the files to your group of people, or your team people, or team members. Now, what is the next possible one, or next possible and better option, which is the Google Drive? So Google Drive allows us to share the files up to 15 GB. Okay, Google Drive allows us to share the files up to 15 GB. Let us assume it. Google Drive allows us to share the files up to 15 GB. Now, let's say that the files which are available in the pen drive is beyond 15 GB. Let's say we can consider it as 25 GB. Now, when there are 25 GB files that are available in the pen drive, which are belonging to your project, can you share these 25 GB files using the Google Drive? No. So here also the problem is coming. So using the three communications, whichever we are possibly seen at, that WhatsApp, email, and Google Drive, we cannot share the data because of the restrictions that are available. Okay, WhatsApp cannot have, in WhatsApp we cannot send large size files. In email also we cannot send large size files. In Google Drive we can send the files up to a size of 15 GB, but beyond that it is not possible. Right. So suppose let's assume that the file sizes which are available is just 5 GB only. Okay, the file size which is available in the pen drive is just 5 GB only. Now, let's assume that we are going to share the files using Google Drive only. Okay, we are going to share the files using Google Drive only. Now, what person 1 will do? Person 1 will upload the files into the Google Drive. Now, here the question is, which Google Drive he is going to download? He is going to upload the files. Is he going to use his own Google Drive account? No. Is he going to use company's Google Drive account? Obviously no, because company will not give you the Gmail accounts. So how it is possible then? So suppose, let's assume that since they are temporary files, the person one is going to use his personal Gmail account and his personal Google Drive, and he is going to upload all the files in the person one's Google Drive. Okay, let us assume that this is the Google Drive of person one, and he has uploaded all the files in the Google Drive of person one. Now here, what is the situation? Now, whenever you want to share the files using Google Drive, you have two options. What are they? The first option is you can share the files with anyone. Okay, you can share the files with anyone. And the second option is you have this option which is called as restricted. Okay, you have this option which is called as restricted. Suppose, let's say that if you have given the anyone as a link, or if you have given the option as anyone, then what will happen? Not just person 2 and person 3, whoever is having that Google Drive link, everybody can access that link. Okay, everybody can access that link. So what is the problem here? When everybody, suppose let's say the other company people are also able to access the files, or also access your Google Drive link. So what is going to happen? The data breach will happen. So here again, the problem is with respect to the security. So you don't get enough amount of security for your files when you share the files using Google Drive, especially with the option called anyone. Now you have the second option, which is called as restricted. Now in the restricted case, what will happen? Person 1 will collect the email IDs of person 2 and person 3. Okay, person 1 will collect the email IDs of person 2 and person 3, and he will explicitly share the files only to person 2 and person 3 by providing his or by providing their email IDs. Now what will happen here? Only the person 2 and person 3 will be able to access the files. Only these two people will be able to access the files. Nobody else can access. Why? Because here we have restricted the viewership of the files. Okay, so here we have restricted in such a way. Here we have restricted in such a way that only person 2 and person 3 should be able to access files. So here, what we have overcome here? We have overcome the security feature. Okay, we have overcome the security feature. Again, it is not 100% overcoming of security feature. We can say we have overcome 50% of security feature in the cloud environment, especially with the Google Drive feature. Now, why I'm calling it as 50% overcoming is happening? Why? What about the remaining 50%? Why we are not able to overcome the remaining 50%? The problem is when the files are being shared in a restricted way, there is always a chance that the people, now let's assume that the person 2 is going to download the files into his laptop. Now, again, when the files are available in the laptop, let's say person 4 who is working from a different company, he might use person 2 laptop and he might have an access to the files. So that's why I said only 50% of security feature has been overcome in the Google Drive feature, especially in the cloud environment. So let me call it as 50% overcoming of security feature has been done. Still, we have the 50% left over. Now, let us talk about the first feature, which is called as a data loss feature. Now, how about the data loss when you are sharing the files through Google Drive? Suppose when you share the files through Google Drive, you always have the option to disable the delete option for the files. Okay, whatever the files that you are sharing through Google Drive, you always have the option to disable the delete option so that nobody can delete the files. So here, what we are overcoming, at least 90 to 95% of the data loss is being overcome. So it is good actually. Okay, the data loss is not going to happen. Why? Because whatever the files that you have uploaded in the Google Drive, all those files you have enabled or you have disabled the delete option. Now, when you disable the delete option, who can delete the files? Only the person 1 can delete the files. Nobody else cannot delete the files. So data loss feature is overcoming at least up to a rate of 90 to 95%, but still security is the concern. Okay, still the security is a concerning factor. So to overcome all these things, that is 50% of security and the remaining 5% or 10% of data loss or additional feature for security and data loss, we have got a technology which is called as a cloud computing. Okay, we have got this technology which is called as cloud computing. So in cloud computing, how we are going to overcome the data loss feature, and we are going to is all about this workshop. In this workshop, we are going to see how we can secure the files that are being uploaded into the cloud environment, and how we can secure the files in order to make sure the data loss should not happen. So that is all the agenda of these 5 days, the next 5 days session. I hope the concept is clear or the scenario is clear. So it is always important to understand the scenario first, then we can jump into the application process. Right. So that's the scenario with respect to the cloud environment. So now let us understand the typical definition of cloud computing. So cloud computing is nothing but sharing the files or sharing the features or sharing the application related files using the internet as a feature. Okay, using the internet as a feature. So here, cloud computing is nothing but it's sharing the files over the internet. We are going to use internet as a medium in order to share the files from one person to another person. Now, this one person to another person sharing of files need not be there in the same location. See, Google Drive link, you can just create a Google Drive link and you can just share the Google Drive link to the person who is staying in Australia or to the person who is staying in USA. Why? Because you don't need to be there in the same location to share the Google Drive link. So Google Drive will allow us to share the link irrespective of the people where they are going to stay. Similarly, using cloud computing technology, we are going to share the devices, or we are going to share the application related devices or application related programs or the codes, whatever that are required using the cloud computing. Okay, using the cloud computing. So that's about this one, the cloud computing technology. Now here, to define the cloud computing, we can tell it as cloud computing is a term which is referred to storing and accessing the data over the internet. So we are going to use internet as a medium, and by using internet as a medium, we are going to share the files. And that internet as a medium is called as cloud. Okay, that internet, the sharing of data using internet as a medium is called as a cloud environment. Okay, it is called as a cloud environment. Now, using the cloud environment, we can distribute the computing services over the internet to the people who are available in same location and who are also available in different locations. So that's the whole idea of using the cloud computing technology. Right. There are many other features also, but we'll just see those features in some time. So the most important element is in cloud computing, you can access the data from a remote server. You don't need to be there in the same location to access the data. You can be there anywhere across the globe in order to access the files from a remote server. And the most important thing is, if you want to work with the cloud computing technology, you need internet source. That's the important thing. Without internet, you cannot work on the, or we cannot work on the cloud environment or the cloud technology. Right. So now let us understand what are the different cloud service providers that are available for us. So there are basically different types of cloud service providers that we have. On a large scale, we have GCP, which is provided by Google, that's called as Google Cloud Platform. And then we have the Microsoft Azure, which is provided by Microsoft. And we have the IBM Cloud, which is provided by IBM. And we have the Alibaba Cloud, which is provided by Alibaba. And we have the VMware, Salesforce, and likewise, we have multiple clouds that are available in the market. So along with all these cloud service providers, we have one major thing, which is called as Amazon Web Services. So nowadays, the mostly people are switching towards the AWS, and even the Azure is also not Azure. Azure has become little less, but GCP has become a little more high. Again, there is a competition between GCP and Azure. But if you ask me which one is best among all these cloud computing or cloud service providers, I would prefer to work with either on AWS. That should be your first preference, and the second preference should go for Microsoft Azure.
Okay, so GCP can come on the third level. So again, the IBM Cloud is specifically meant for only for IBM employees. Not everybody can use that. But whereas the GCP, Microsoft Azure, and the AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, are open source, anybody can use them. Okay, so these are the different cloud service providers that are available in the market. Now, in these 6 days workshop, we are going to focus only on Amazon Web Services, not on any of the cloud service providers. Okay, we are not going to discuss with GCP or Microsoft Azure or Salesforce, VMware, nothing like that. So we'll just be focusing on understanding of Amazon Web Services. Right. So here, let's talk about what are the different cloud computing models that we have. On a large scale, we have two types of cloud computing models. The first one is called as a service-based model, and the second one is called as a deployment-based model. Service-based model and deployment-based model. In service-based model, again, we have three categories. The first one is called as IaaS. The second one is called as PaaS, and the last one is called as SaaS. Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. Along with these things, we have multiple types of service models also. But on a large scale, these are the three major service-based models: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. And in deployment-based models, we have three categories. One is called as public cloud, second one is called as private cloud, and third one is called as hybrid cloud. So let us understand what are these service-based models and what are these deployment-based models. So the first thing is, let us understand about the service-based models. Now, in the service-based models, before talking about the service-based models, let us understand it in a real-time scenario. Now, before the cloud computing technology has come into picture, okay, before we actually see the cloud computing or we have actually got the cloud computing into the market, every that is related to a company are available on premises. On premises is nothing but everything is being managed by the company itself or the organization itself. What does I mean by everything? Everything, I mean the applications, the servers, the operating systems, the storage devices, the networking capacity, the runtime environments, the databases, all these things will be maintained on premises. So when I say on premises, you are going to have a physical location, and in that physical location, you're going to have the server rooms. In the server rooms, you'll have a maintenance department, storage department, database team, testing team. Likewise, you're going to have multiple things on the on premises. So what is the problem with on premises? The problem with on premises is every company has to maintain their own infrastructure. So all these are the infrastructure which is related to maintain an organization or which is related to maintain a software projects in an organization. Now, what exactly is the problem with this? Suppose, let's assume it in this way. We have the server rooms in for every organization. Even, I mean, some of the faculty are also joining in this workshop. Suppose for every organization, not just the company, even the educational institutions, we have the server rooms. Okay, we have the server rooms. So what will be there in the server rooms? In server rooms, we'll have the huge servers, depending upon the number of people or depending upon the size of the organization, we'll have the size of the server room. Now, what will be there in the server rooms? We'll have the servers in the server rooms. Now, in order to maintain this server room, is it a common thing to maintain? No, we need a specialized people in order to maintain or in order to have a look into the server rooms. What is that specialized qualification that is required? People should know, whoever is the specialized people, they should know how to repair the servers. They should know how to maintain the servers. There will be a separate air conditioning system. There will be a separate security for this one. Why separate security? Because if all of a sudden if the server room gets blasted, or if all of a sudden server room got attacked with the fire, so there should be a specialized people, and you should have a specialized environment to maintain all these things. So that's the problem here. The problem is everything has to be maintained by the organization itself. Okay, everything has to be maintained by the organization itself. Now, by seeing all these problems in the cloud, there are multiple service-based models that has come into picture. The first one is called as infrastructure as a service.
Okay, the first one is called as infrastructure as a service. Now you can see here the blue ones, all these blue ones are something which are managed by the company. You can see you manage. When I say you manage, that means the company has to manage all these things, right? So looking after all these problems, in the market there has come the service-based models, and the very first service-based model that has come into picture is called as infrastructure as a service. Now, what is this infrastructure as a service? In infrastructure as a service, what you have to maintain is you don't need to maintain the infrastructure. So what does it mean by infrastructure? Infrastructure is nothing but the servers. Servers are infrastructure. The tables are infrastructure. Suppose, let's say you want to construct a hotel. Okay, let us assume that you want to construct a hotel or you want to start a hotel business. Now, what is the infrastructure in a hotel? In a hotel, the infrastructure is all about the kitchen appliances and the tables, the setup that is required, the physical setup that is required. So in infrastructure as a service, you don't have to bother about the infrastructure. Whatever the infrastructure that is required in order to maintain an organization, all this infrastructure will be provided by the cloud service or cloud providers like AWS, GCP, Microsoft Azure. Like these service providers or cloud service providers, they will provide you the infrastructure. And what you have to maintain? You have to maintain your applications. Okay, you have to maintain your applications, whatever the coding that is required to develop the application, whatever the runtime environment that is required, the type of the operating system, the type of the middleware, the databases that are required, all these things has to be maintained by the company. Okay, all these things has to be maintained by the company. So here you can clearly see this is the infrastructure which is maintained by the cloud service provider like AWS, GCP and all. And this is the things, or these are the things which has to be maintained by the company itself. So here what you have to do, since these are being maintained by the cloud service provider, you are going to pay for the services that you are going to use. Okay, whatever the things that you are going to use, you are going to pay only for them. For the services which are being maintained by you, you don't have to pay to anybody because you yourself are maintaining those things, right? So that's called as infrastructure as a service. Okay, that's called as infrastructure as a service. And the next one is called as platform as a service. Now, what is this platform as a service? In platform as a service, what will happen is most of the things, or you can say 70 to 80% of the things which are required to run an organization will be maintained by the cloud service provider itself. Okay, so you don't need to bother about the runtime environment, the operating system, the middleware, the virtualization concept, all these things you don't need to bother. The company has to bother about developing the application and developing the data related to the application or maintaining the data related to the application. That's called as a platform as a service. Okay, that's called as a platform as a service. And the next type is called as software as a service. Now in software as a service, here everything will be maintained by the cloud service provider itself. Okay, you don't have to bother about anything. Everything has to be maintained will be maintained by the cloud service provider. Now you might have a question, then what is our duty when we, so now you might have a question like, or you might have a doubt like, why we need to go for IAS and PAS? I'll directly choose SaaS. Now, when you choose SaaS, everything will be maintained by the cloud service provider, but the problem is the cost will get increased. Okay, the cost will get increased. You have to pay for so many things. Now, assume that you are running a huge company. The market rate of your company is, let's say, the turnover of your company per year is, let's say, some 100 crores or 500 crores. Now, when you're getting some 100 crores and 500 crores turnover, you don't bother about paying the amount of 100 crores or 150 crores. Okay, when you're getting 500 crores, if you want to pay 100 crores for the maintenance, you will obviously pay because you are, however, on the profit side only. The remaining 400 crores is your profit side. But assume that in that way, suppose let's say you are willing to pay everything to the cloud service provider and you are going to tell to maintain all these things for the cloud service provider. Now, what is your duty? As a company, what you are going to do? As a company, what we are going to do is we are going to work with the coding part, whatever the application related coding, whatever the deployment related thing, and whatever the build related activities, all these things will be majorly taken care by the company. Okay. Apart from that, everything will be, the applications will be provided by the cloud service provider, the databases will be provided by the cloud service provider, the operating system, the servers, storage, networking, everything will be provided by the cloud service provider. The only thing as a company, what you have to do is you have to work on development of the application. Okay, you have to get the projects, and according to the requirements of the clients, we have to develop the project and we have to deploy that project into the service provider or into the cloud environment. So that's called as cloud service models. On-premises, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So let me talk about these ones with a better example. Suppose, let's say you want to prepare a burger. Now, when you want to prepare a burger, let me link these things, link this preparation of burger with infrastructure as a service, platform, and software as a service. Suppose the first thing is on-premises. Okay, in on-premises, what it means, everything, if you want to prepare burger at your home, okay, now what you have to do, you have to bring all the requirements, whatever that are required. You need the kitchen facility, you need electricity, you need microwave oven, you need whatever the materials that are required or vegetables that are required to prepare the burger. All these things you should buy. So that's called as traditional method, which is on-premises management. You're going to manage everything at your house. Now, the next thing is infrastructure as a service. Now, what does it mean by infrastructure? Now, to prepare the burger, what kind of infrastructure you need? You need kitchen, you need electricity, you need the microwave oven. These are the infrastructure. Apart from that, whatever the burger buns, whatever the vegetables or the type of vegetables, the chicken burger means chicken pads, all these things, you have to get it. That's called as infrastructure as a service. Okay. And the next one is platform as a service. Now, in platform as a service, what will happen? You don't need to do everything. So here, along with the kitchen or along with the infrastructure, you will also get the type of the sheets, whatever the burger buns that you need, you will get it. It's something like barbecues. So we all have an experience of barbecues, I hope. So in barbecues, what they'll do, so they'll give you the raw meal or they'll give you the raw meat, and they will ask you to boil or to have this or to burn this raw meat according to your requirement. Suppose if you want to boil it at a larger rate, you can boil it. You have that option. Similarly, that's called as platform as a service. And the next one is called as a software as a service. So in software as a service, what will happen? Suppose, let's say you're going to go to an online delivery platforms like Swiggy, Zomato, and you will just order a burger according to your requirement. You will just order like, I need a chicken burger, I need 2 chicken burgers, and I need one veg burger. Now you can choose whether you need cheese or not, whether you need what type of toppings you need, what type of materials that you need. All these things you can customize according to your requirement. So in software as a service, what will happen? You will order everything to the burger providers, and then according to your requirement, the burger providers will prepare the burger and they'll deliver it to you. That's called as software as a service. Okay, these are the service-based models. And the next one is called as a deployment-based models. Now, in deployment-based models, we have 3 types of deployment-based models. Again, 4 are there on a large scale, but currently we will work with only 3. So the types of cloud based on deployment-based models are public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and community cloud. So what are these? Let me talk about these ones with a particular example. Suppose, let us understand this public, private, and hybrid cloud with an example of transportation. Suppose, let's say you want to go from one location to another location. What is the best and most convenient one? Either train or bus. Now, in train or bus, what will happen? Are you the only one who is going to travel? No. So along with you, there are multiple people who will be traveling alongside. Right? So now here, when you are traveling in a bus or train, what you will do? You will buy the ticket based upon the number of travelers. Suppose, let's say, if two people wants to travel. Now, how many tickets will you buy? You're going to buy only 2 tickets. Now, in these 2 tickets, only you can sit. Nobody else can sit. That's called as public cloud. So in public cloud, what will happen is you are going to pay for whatever the service that you are going to use. Okay, you're going to pay for whatever the service that you're going to use. That's called as pay as you go or pay as you use. That means according to, suppose if you want to travel 2%, so only for 2% you are going to pay the price. You are not going to pay the price for the entire bus, or you are not going to pay the price for 3 tickets, right? So you will pay only for your requirement. That's called as public cloud. And the second one is, now what is the problem with public cloud? The problem with public cloud is it is not just you who will be there in the cloud environment. Along with you, there are multiple people or there are multiple organizations that will be working. So here, the one more problem is there is a chance that in the public cloud, the data loss might happen or the data breach might happen. Anybody can access your data because you are keeping it in the public environment. So that's the problem with public cloud. And the second one is called as private cloud. So private cloud is nothing but the transportation by using your own car. Now, when you have your own car, can anybody come and sit in your car apart from your friends or apart from your family members? Who can sit in your car? Only the people, whomever you are giving the permission, only those people can access the seats in your car. That's called as private cloud. That's something like Google Drive, where you are going to share the files using restricted mode. So you can decide who can access the data, or you can decide who can access the files that are available. That's called as private cloud. So in private cloud, you have more amount of security. And the last one, which is called as hybrid cloud. So in hybrid cloud, what happens is it's neither a private cloud nor a public cloud. It's something like taxi, or it's something like the cabs, you can say. So when you book an Ola cab, are you going to buy the Ola cab? No, you are going to get the Ola cab for a specific duration of time. You will own that taxi. Okay, let's say you want to travel for 1 hour distance. Now, for that 1 hour, that entire taxi is yours. That means you cannot allow anybody, or it's up to you whether you want others to sit inside the taxi or not. So that's the difference between public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. Now, what is the problem with private cloud? The problem with private cloud is you have to pay for this entire car. You have to buy the car. That means you are going to get huge upfront cost. Okay, high cost you have to involve. But whereas in the hybrid cloud, you don't need to have the buying of the car. You don't have to buy the car. What you have to do, you have to rent the car for a specific duration of time. Suppose if you are renting the car for 1 hour, then you have to pay for that 1 hour only. If you are renting the car for 10 hours, then you have to pay for that 10 hours only. So here, the problem with public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud can be overcome in a different way. So it all depends on the organizations, which type of cloud can be used. Suppose if they don't have the most important.
How much should it?
Yeah, somebody please mute your mic. I'll take your questions at the end.
44. Huh? 244. And this cancel.
Just give me a second. Somebody is talking, please mute your mics. Correct. So that's the overcoming factor with respect to the cloud deployment based models, public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. So here, the AWS cloud or GCP or any of the cloud service providers that we have, they all work with respect to all types of service-based models. So we can use AWS in the type of infrastructure as a service. We can use AWS in type of platform as a service. We can use AWS in respect of software as a service also. It all depends on how much you can pay to the cloud service provider. And these cloud services will also work in all the ways that we can. That is, it can work as a public cloud. It can also work as a private cloud. It can also work as a hybrid cloud as well. All the cloud service providers that we have, majorly 3, that is AWS, GCP, and Azure. So all these 3 are combinations of the service-based model and the deployment-based models. So based upon the requirement, we can work according to our needs, right? So that's about the cloud deployment model. So this is what I was talking about. So on-premises versus the cloud computing. In on-premises, you have high amounts of cost you have to bear, and you don't have good amount of backup. Once the server room gets blasted, there is no chance of getting the files back, and the maintenance cost is very high. Okay, because you are going to maintain the server rooms. But whereas in the cloud environment, you don't have to pay huge costs. Everything will be managed by the cloud service provider, and you just have to pay according to your usage. I'll talk about that in some time in a very brief way. So AWS is nothing but Amazon Web Services, which is basically offered by Amazon. And it is something which is majorly used in such a way for having a flexible, reliable, scalable, and easy to use, and most efficiently, it's a cost-effective one. You don't have to pay for everything that you are going to use. Some services are available for free of cost. You don't need to pay anything for that. And some services are available for paid prices. And some services are available in such a way that you can use for 1 month, you can use for free of cost. After 1 month, you have to pay the price. Or for 12 months, you can use for free of cost. And after 12 months, you have to pay the price. Right. So let me talk about that one. So coming to the history of AWS, AWS has initially started in the year 2003. The official documentation has got started in 2003. But the very first service that was launched in AWS is called as SQS. That's called as a simple queue service. Okay, it was launched in the year 2004. And as soon as the SQS service was launched, then AWS was launched. Okay, before the actual launch of AWS, they first released one service which is called as SQS. And once after SQS has become a success, then they have launched this entire cloud technology, which is called as AWS. So after that, it has gone into different phases of development. And currently, in the year 2019, we had 100 cloud services that are available in AWS. Now, currently, as of till date, we have almost 250 plus services that are available in AWS. So that's the extensive usage of AWS that we currently have. And that is the only reason why companies are shifting towards the cloud domain, especially the AWS cloud domain, because it offers wide range of features and wide range of services for its customers. So because of that features where none of the other cloud service providers are not providing, and that's where AWS is gaining a prominence. Again, Azure and GCP are also competing, but they are not as good as the AWS in the market. Right. So now the question is why we need to use AWS. So the reasons are very simple. They are very easy to use, the secure way of transferring the files, reliable files, and you can have the better accessibility. You can scale the features. The speed and performance is very good, and the capacity limits are no. We don't have any kind of capacity limits. We can store as much data as we want, not just 10 GB, not just 15 GB. We can store petabytes of data also. There is no problem with that. Right. So now let's see what are the companies that are using AWS. There are multiple companies, but the most common companies that we are familiar are Instagram and Netflix, Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Dropbox, SmugMug, and multiple more companies are being used by the AWS cloud. Not just these companies, there are other companies as well. But here I'm just giving some reference for you. Right? Now the question is why companies are using AWS? Okay, why companies are using AWS? It is because of the environmental factors. Whatever the things that we have discussed with respect to the security feature, with respect to the data loss feature, to overcome all these things, AWS has become the prominent factor, or AWS has become the look after factor in order to inculcate this kind of cloud computing technology in the real-time environment. Now let us see what are the different certifications that are being provided by AWS. So AWS provides the authorized certifications. So this is my certification, which was obtained in May 2023, May 2020. Now it is about to, it has expired, logically speaking. So I was the certified solution architect. Currently, I don't own this certificate. I own the DevOps engineer certificate and Kubernetes certificate as well, along with Terraform certification also. Anyways, so let's see what are the different certifications that AWS provides. And I'll talk about the benefits in some time. So there are 9 different certifications that are being provided by AWS. So starting from the basic level, which is the cloud practitioner, and then the advanced level things that comes into picture. I'll show that in an image. Let me show you that. Yeah, here you can see. So the foundational certificate is called as a cloud practitioner, where the exam will be there for 90 minutes, and all these exams are online only, and you have the multiple choice type of questions. Sometimes scenario-based questions will also be there when you go for professional level or specialty level. Okay, if you are there in the foundational or associate level, you don't have the scenario-based questions, but at professional, which is basically the DevOps engineer professional, and specialty-based, especially I am into machine learning and the security feature, and also the database as well. But database, I'm not much into it, but machine learning and security, along with the DevOps, I'm much into that. So these are the different certifications that you can have. Okay, so as a beginner, if you want to get any kind of certification from AWS, I always prefer you, or I can suggest you to go for the cloud practitioner, provided if you have practiced it very well. Okay, if you have practiced it very well, right? So what are the different jobs that you can attain with respect to AWS? So there are multiple jobs like the cloud. You can become a cloud practitioner, you can become a solution architect, you can become a developer or a SysOps administrator, solutions architect, DevOps engineer, advanced networking, big data. These are the different jobs that we can have once you finish the AWS. Along with that, if you have to finish DevOps also. You cannot say that I'll just have finished AWS. I mean, especially for the experienced candidates, not for the students. Students, they can learn only AWS. That's much enough for students. But for the people who have graduated 3 years back or 2 years back, it's important for them to learn AWS. Along with AWS, we should also learn DevOps. So you should be becoming the DevOps engineer, not the cloud practitioner or solution architect. Nowadays, we don't have these roles like cloud practitioner or solution architect. So those roles are merged into the DevOps engineer role. Okay, so these are the different roles that we have in the real-time future. Currently, I am a DevOps engineer. I started my career with the solutions architect, and then I become the SysOps administrator. Now, currently, I am the DevOps engineer, right? So these are the different roles that you can get into once you complete the AWS or DevOps time. AWS and DevOps classes or AWS and DevOps tools, you can say. All right. So there are different AWS services that we have. As I was mentioning, we have 250 plus services that are available in AWS. So let me show you those services on a large scale. So you can see there are services based on deployment and management, the services based on applications, services based on foundation networking, like the networking, database, storage capacity, compute capacity, administration and security, deployment and management, analytics. Likewise, we have multiple services that are available. And you can see there are other services also, like the DevOps-based tools, the mobile-based technologies, the application-based technologies, infrastructure-based technologies. Likewise, we have multiple things. So these are the different AWS services that we have in the market. Again, these are just limited ones. I cannot give the entire 250 things in a single slide. So I have given you the most important ones that are available. Okay. So once you become the DevOps engineer, or once you become the AWS engineer or AWS solutions architect, at least you should know 10 to 12 tools. Okay, if you want to become an AWS engineer or DevOps engineer, you should know at least the 10 to 12 services in AWS and 10 to 12 services in DevOps as well. Okay, without knowing these 10 to 12 services, on a whole, you need to be familiar with 25 to 26 technologies in the AWS and DevOps. Then you can become, or you will have higher chances to become a DevOps engineer. Right. So that's related to the introduction to the cloud computing. Now, what I'll show you is I'll show you how to create an AWS account. So in order to create the AWS account, what we can do is we can just go to a website called aws.amazon.com. So I'll just show you that. So here I'm not going to show you how actually to create the account, but I'll show you the steps. However, I'll share I have one recorded video, which is of 10 minutes length. So I'll share that recorded session with you. You can have a look into that video in the process of how to create an AWS account. Now, when you want to create an AWS account, remember that you have to, you will get the AWS account only for 12 months. After 12 months, automatically it gets expired. So when you are creating a free tier account, you will get only 12 months of free tier account. Okay, so you can just go to this website called aws.amazon.com. Okay, where you will be asked to log into your AWS account. You can see the sign in option and the sign up option. So let me click on sign up here. So once you click on sign up, you will have 7 to 8 steps that need to be followed. Let me click on create a new AWS account. And in the process of creating the new AWS account, it will ask you the email ID. So you can just give the valid email ID that you have. So whatever the email ID that you want to create the AWS account, you can give that email ID. Suppose, let's say, I'll just give some name here. Rahul. I'm just giving this name for the email ID. Right, you can see the email ID I have provided, and you can give the email account name also. But anytime you can change this account name. You don't need to bother about this one. And then if you click on verify email address, and a one-time password will be coming to your email where you have to enter that verification code. So once you enter that verification code, let me enter that one. Right. Once you enter the verification code, just click on verify so that you will be asked to create the password. Suppose, let's say I want to create a password, something like this. Make sure to use the capital letters, special characters, and the numbers also. So click on, you can see 5 steps are available. Click on continue so that you'll be directed to the next step. Okay. So you can see the contact information you have to provide. You can provide either business or personal account, personal contact information. I would suggest, since we are going to create the account for our own cause, we are going to use the personal only. So you can give the name, something like this, and then you can give the mobile number, whatever is your mobile number, you can just give the mobile number. So I'll just give my mobile number. And then you can select the country from whichever you are there. And you can just give some address here. Suppose, let's say I'll just give some random address. It is not a mandatory thing. You can just give some address here. Okay, I'll just give the address as like this, and the state. Just give like this, and then let me click on continue. Right, with that, you can see you are asking to pay the amount. Now you might have a question, how much amount you have to pay? You have to pay only 2 rupees. And once you create the AWS account, what will happen is that 2 rupees also will again get back into your bank account. So this 2 rupees is just to verify that you have the valid credit card details, or credit card or debit card. You can use any one. So you should provide the credit card number or the debit card number, and you should provide the details of credit cards and debit card. And once you provide that one, you can go to step 4 and then step 5. So where you can just follow the instructions that are available here. Okay, so that's how you can create the AWS account. Let me show you my AWS account, which I currently use for the training purposes, so that I can have a look. I can have a walk back into the AWS account that I currently have. I'll show you that one. So you can just enter your email ID that you are having. Right. So you can see this is my AWS account or AWS console. So we are going to work with 3 services on a large scale. From tomorrow's session, we are going to work with S3 service that's called as simple storage service. On day 4, we are going to work with EC2 service. And on day 6, we are going to work with a service called a VPC that's called as virtual private cloud. So if you click on services here on the top left side, so you can see here the services, and you can see the services which are based on multiple categories. Like the services are available with respect to analytics category, application integration, AWS cost management, blockchain, the compute services, containers. Again, the Kubernetes and Docker will come into picture here. You can see Elastic Kubernetes Service, Docker will come. And then databases, especially the RDS and DynamoDB are something which are important. And you can see the services based on game development, also Internet of Things, machine learning, which is my major area. Again, this is not my something like which I constantly work, but I had to work for a couple of projects, especially in the machine learning area. And then we have the management and governance, the media services, and a couple of others as well. So you can just go to any service that you are comfortable at, or if you know these things, or if you know how to access these things, and then you can work with that. Anyways, you don't need to worry about this one. In tomorrow's session, we are going to see a category called storage category, where in storage, I'll be talking about a service called S3 service. You can see scalable storage in the cloud, which is basically simple storage service. So let me click on S3. You can see the S3 service, or S3 home page or console page, you can say. So in AWS, we'll call it as console, we don't call it as user interface. So usually for any other softwares, we'll call it as a user interface or UI, but in AWS, we'll call it as console. Right? This is our S3 console. So I'll talk about these ones in the next session. Right? So now let us talk about one last thing in this particular session.
which is AWS Global Architecture or AWS Global Infrastructure. Let me write that one here. I hope you are able to see the paint screen. AWS Global Infrastructure. So how this AWS has got divided into multiple ways. Okay, so what is the infrastructure of AWS? That's about this global infrastructure. Suppose, let's say you have one AWS account. Okay, understand this infrastructure. It will be very useful for you. Even though if you are not learning, it would be useful for you. Suppose, let's say this is my AWS account. Okay, let me call this as an AWS account. Just let me give that. This is your personal AWS account. Now, this AWS account has got divided into multiple ways. Okay, multiple ways it has got divided. What are they? So the thing is, here in the AWS account, it has got divided into, or AWS has got divided into multiple regions. Okay, so we have the regions inside an AWS account. All these are the regions. In each AWS account, we have multiple regions like North Virginia, Ohio, Mumbai, Hyderabad. Likewise, we have multiple regions. Let me show you them. So you can see here in the AWS console, you can see if you click here, you can see the global here, and these are the regions which I was talking about. North Virginia, Ohio, North California, these are the regions. So what does this mean? Suppose, let's say you want to create the resources in North California region. Then you can select this North California and you can create the resources only in this region. It doesn't mean that you should be in North California to work in North California region. You can be anywhere across the globe and you can use any of these regions. So what I mean to say here is the entire AWS cloud has got divided into multiple regions. Okay, the entire AWS cloud has got divided into multiple regions. Now, in each region, again, we have multiple categories. Okay, in each region, again, we have multiple categories. Let us understand one region first. Okay, let me talk about one particular region. So let me say that I have this AWS cloud. Let me call this as AWS cloud instead of AWS account. Just a second, I'll just write this thing and then AWS cloud. So this AWS cloud has been divided into regions. On a large scale, we have the regions. Okay, so let's say in AWS cloud, we have multiple regions. Let's say this is one region. Okay, and let me do one thing. I'll just give this as a region. So in AWS, we have multiple regions. And here I'm considering only one particular region. Okay, here I'm considering only one particular region for better understanding purpose. So let me call this as region. Okay, any one region. Now, this region is again divided into multiple parts. Okay, this region is again divided into multiple parts. What are they? So the regions have got divided into availability zones. Okay, the region has got divided into availability zones. So this is availability zone 1. Okay, we can call it as availability zone 1. And we have at least 3 availability zones will be there in any region. Whatever the region that are available in AWS, in all these regions, at least 3 availability zones will be there. So I'll call it as AZ1, AZ2, and AZ3. That's availability zone 1, availability zone 2, and availability zone 3. So we are not going to discuss in detail about these availability zones, but you can just consider this as the resources are majorly available in these availability zones only. Okay, whatever the resources that you are going to create, all your resources will be available in this availability zones itself. Okay, let me just do that one. Right. So these 3 availability zones. Now, what will be there inside these availability zones? Inside these availability zones, you have the data centers. Okay, inside these availability zones, you have the data centers. Let me call this as data center 1 and data center 2. Okay, you have the data centers that are available inside these availability zones. Let me call this as data center 1 and data center 2. Just a second, I'll just keep these ones here. Yeah, so this is data center 1 and this is data center 2.
Now, what will be there inside these data centers? Inside the data centers, we have the servers. Okay, inside the data centers, we have the servers. So whatever the servers that we are going to have, all those servers will be available in the data centers. So that's how the AWS infrastructure has got divided. Okay, so this is about the global infrastructure of AWS. Okay. So let me keep the same things here also in the data center too. Right. So this kind of infrastructure is available in all availability zones. So this is availability zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. So how it will be there? So initially we have the AWS cloud on a large scale. This AWS cloud has got divided into multiple regions. So here for better understanding, I'm taking only one region. In each region, we are going to have the availability zones. In each availability zones, we have the data centers. In each data center, we have the servers. Okay, whatever the work that we are going to do in the AWS cloud from next session onwards, all our work will be stored in the data centers. Where these data centers are available, these data centers are available in the availability zones. Where this availability zone is available, it will be there in the region. Okay, you can select any region and you can work. But here S3 is not a region specific, S3 is basically a global specific. So that's why here if you see, you don't see it as a region, specific region. It's basically a global service. Okay, I'll talk about the reason why it is called as a global service in the next session. But if you take another service which is called as EC2, where EC2 is basically a region specific. Okay, in EC2 we are going to create the servers that are virtual servers. In these virtual servers, you can create in a specific region. You can see there is a region called Ohio. Okay, so there is a region called North Virginia. Now, whatever the resources that you are creating in the Ohio region, suppose let's say currently I'm in the Ohio region, and you can see there are some servers that are available in the Ohio region. You can see there are multiple servers that I have created. Something like Jenkins instance, Tomcat instance, and Jenkins instance, which is for an organization called Cloudly. There is an organization. So for that organization, I have created this one. Right. So S3 is basically a global service and EC2 is a region specific service. I will see the region, why I'm calling S3 as a global service and why I'm calling EC2 as a region specific. We'll talk about the reasons in the next sessions. Okay, so that's all from my end for this particular session. If you have any doubts, you can unmute and ask the doubts. Before I give the session to you to ask the doubts, let me thank you all for joining this particular session. I hope this has become a useful session for all of you. For the past 1 to 1.5 hour of time, you have been here, and I hope this might be useful for you. And the upcoming sessions also will also be useful in a better way as well. But before I close the session, let me show you one thing which we are going to announce. As every year, I'm going to conduct the internship training, which is basically the master training program, you can say. So we are tied up with multiple companies and multiple institutions that are available across India, especially with respect to the Andhra, Telangana, the Karnataka and Kerala. So for these states, we have tied up with a couple of colleges and we have been giving the internship training for the past 3 years, especially on the AWS. So this is something which might be useful for you. Maybe the faculty, whoever are there in this session, you can also recommend your students for the internship training. So we are going to provide the internship training for 3,000 rupees, and this internship training will be there for a duration of 30 working days, excluding holidays. 30 working days will be there. And these are the different services that we are going to cover in the 30 days of internship training. Along with these services, we are also going to cover the Linux fundamentals, especially with respect to the practical applications in the real-time industry scenario based. Along with that, we are going to provide 2 industry-based real-time projects, where those 2 projects like deployment of an application into the servers, how to deploy an application, how to create a 3-tier architecture, all these things we are going to discuss. And training will be started based upon the requirements of the institution or based upon the requirements of the students' interest. But if we get the students, like at least 15 students, we will expect per batch. If we get 15 students, we will start this internship training anytime according to the requirement. And this training will be completely in the online mode only. It will not be an offline mode, because as we are working in companies, so we had to go to a company, and I mean, we had our own works in the companies. Along with that, we are also going to provide the training sessions for AWS and DevOps as well, only AWS as well, only DevOps, only Kubernetes, only Terraform. So likewise, we have multiple stages of training. So those who are interested, you can ping me on WhatsApp. So you can find my number in the WhatsApp group. If you need any further details, either on the internship training or on the AWS and DevOps training as well. Right. So that's all from my end for this particular session. In the next session, we are going to see how to work with the AWS cloud. Okay. So if you have any doubts, you can unmute and ask the doubts. That's from my end. Thank you. Thank you once again.